You've copied the same NAN node cluster into 3 different workflows. You've already built a maintenance trap. It looks fine until the business rule changes. Then you're not making one update. You're hunting through multiple automations. You're trying to remember where you painted. You're hoping to find every copy, and you only find out you miss one when something downstream behaves differently. That's how small workflow changes turn into silent failures, inconsistent logic, and long debugging sessions. The fix is not a cleaner canvas. The fix is extracting repeated logic into a sub-workflow with a clear interface. In the next few minutes, I'm going to give you a practical pattern you can reuse. How to spot the right candidates, how to define a simple input and output contract, and how to name and version sub-workflows. So one update improves multiple workflows without surprise breakage. This is part 1 of a 3-part series on NAN sub-workflows. The goal is simple. Stop building fragile automations by treating repeated logic into a real module instead of a copied node cluster. The operational cost of spaghetti workflows is not aesthetics, it's risk. When the same logic exists in multiple places, every future change becomes uncertain. One workflow gets updated, another gets forgotten, and a third gets patched differently because someone was in a hurry. Now, your business rules are inconsistent, and you don't have a single source of truth. That's the real cost of copy-paste automation. Duplicated debugging, uneven outputs, hidden maintenance debt that only shows on during incidents. So when should something become a sub-workflow? Here's the litmus test I use. If you copied the same block of roughly 5 to 20 nodes more than once, it's a candidate. If you already wish you could update that logic in one place, it's a candidate. Common examples are predictable: contact normalization, lead enrichment, Slack alert formatting, deduplication, qualification rules, CRM lookups, and shared routing logic. But not everything should become a sub-workflow. If it's a one-off step, modularizing it adds overhead. If it's a tiny helper with almost no logic, the call pattern can cost more than it saves. If it's deeply tied to one workflow's local context, extracting it can create a brittle dependency. Reuse is not the goal by itself. Safe reuse is the goal. The mindset shift is this: a sub-workflow is not some nodes I moved, it's a component. That means it accepts explicit inputs. It produces explicit outputs. And it avoids hidden assumptions about the parent workflow. If you skip that, you don't get modularity. You get a remote copy-paste block that fails in more confusing ways. Make it concrete. Imagine you have a repeated normalized contact block. It cleans phone numbers, it standardizes names, it validates email formatting, it returns a clean contact object. If that block exists in 3 parent workflows, you do not want 3 copies. You want 1 module, 1 interface, and 1 maintenance point. Now, before we talk about how to design that interface, I want 1 operational input from you. What is 1 step you keep rebuilding in NAN? Comment the exact module idea. Something like normalize contact data, enrich company from domain, or format Slack alerts with links. I'll use the most common one in part 2. Once you've decided something should become a sub-workflow, the next question is, what makes it safe to reuse? Most broken sub-workflow designs don't fail because of the nodes inside them. They fail because the interface is vague or inconsistent or too dependent on parent-specific contexts. So design it like you design an internal API, not like you're organizing a canvas. Start with the input contract. Decide exactly what the module requires. Decide what is optional. Decide what happens when required data is missing. For the normalized contact example, maybe the module requires at least an email or a phone number. Define that explicitly. Then decide the behavior when neither is present. Fail fast, return a warning, or return a structured error object. Don't leave the parent workflow guessing. Guessing becomes branching. Branching becomes drift. Drift becomes inconsistent behavior across callers. Then define the output contract. A reusable subworkflow should return a stable shape every time. Not usually, every time. In the normalized contact module, maybe it always returns the same object. Normalized name, normalized phone, normalized email, validation flags, a status. You can evolve the internals, you can improve parsing, you can add better validation. But the caller should not have to change unless the contract changes. This is where standardization matters. If 2 parent workflows call the same subworkflow, they should pass the same field names, and they should receive the same keys back. If one parent expects clean email and another expects normalized _email, you didn't remove complexity. You relocated it into glue code. And glue code is where automation systems quietly rot. Now, naming. Good naming reduces friction. It reduces the time it takes to trust what you're about to reuse. Use names that make the purpose obvious at a glance, such as normalized contact -core, enrich company -domain, notified -slack -ops alerts. The point is fast recognition. Someone opening your workspace should know what the module does before inspecting nodes. Then, versioning. Here's one simple rule. If the contract changes, create a new version. Slow down here, because this is where teams break callers without noticing. If version 1 returns normalized phone, and version 2 replaces that with contact phone.e164, that's not a small edit. That's a contract change. That should become version 2. But if you improve the internal cleanup logic while returning the same fields in the same shape, update in place, that's a safe change. Callers don't need to care. So the operational pattern is straightforward. One responsibility per module, explicit input contract, stable output contract, no parent-specific assumptions, names that describe purpose clearly, new version only when the contract changes. Do that, and you stop maintaining the same logic 5 places. You make updates safer, and you reduce the number of places a bug can hide. In part 2, we'll deal with the mistake that makes many subworkflows technically reusable, practically painful. They're the wrong size, too many inputs, too much setup, too much hidden context, and the module becomes harder to use than the duplicated node cluster it was supposed to replace. We'll fix that by building one real module the right way, then plugging it into multiple parent workflows without custom glue code or surprise breakage. Scalable NAN automation isn't about big canvases. It's about clean modules with explicit interfaces, stable contracts, and disciplined reuse. When you do that, workflows stay readable, updates get safer, and you stop rebuilding the same logic over and over.